Shocking Christmas revelation. How I confronted my mom's brutal words at dinner. Christmas Eve had always sparkled with cheer in the Thompson household. Lights twinkled like stars in the window, the smell of fresh pine swirled around the room, and laughter seemed to hang in the air like a golden mist. But that year was different. This year, a snarl of tension twisted around the festive spirit. As everyone took their seats, there was an electric charge, a premonition in the air that made the hair on my arms stand on end. My mother's smile was bright, but her eyes held a tempest of secrets. It wasn't long before the air thickened with uncomfortable silence. Just as the turkey was carved, her voice sliced through the moment with the precision of a knife. "You know, I'm just waiting for you to screw it all up again just like last year." Gasps erupted around the table, sharp as the glass breaking on the floor. My stomach dropped. The air was sucked from the room, leaving only the echo of her words hanging in the warm buttery scent of mashed potatoes. Uncle Dave dropped his fork. Aunt Marge clutched her chest, horrified. I could feel my own heart racing, fluttering like a trapped bird, desperate for escape. Her words had the power to cut deeper than the knife she wielded, and I could almost see the shadows they cast over the holiday gathering, swallowing the cheerful decorations whole. Everyone's eyes darted between me and my mother, a mix of pity and shock sweeping the table. My chest tightened. Did she really mean it? The tension rippled like a fault line, and the atmosphere shifted. Forks froze midair, and whispers bounced off the walls. How could she say that? Someone muttered. A broken joke from the cousin sitting across the table barely broke the silence. Guess the eggnog just hit her hard. Laughter fell flat, crushed under the weight of the moment. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the awkward silence spread across the table, my mom's smile began to dissolve into something far darker. I expect better from you, she continued, her tone ice-cold yet eerily cheerful. The room spun and my hands trembled as I gripped the edge of the table. Was this the woman who spent years teaching me about kindness and love? Or had the demons of our past finally emerged to haunt us all? I looked around. Everyone was lost in their own world of shock and disbelief. I could almost hear the gears grinding in their minds, trying to process what just happened. Suddenly, the lights flickered and the room dimmed, as if the universe had taken note of our turmoil. It felt like a scene from a horror movie, just before the worst was about to unfold. My throat tightened as dread pooled in my stomach. Would this turn into a Christmas I'd never forget for all the wrong reasons? And then it hit me, should I confront her? What if this dinner wasn't just about the turkey and trimmings? What secrets lay buried beneath the surface, waiting to explode like a shaken bottle of champagne? The weight of the moment pressed down on me as I made a decision, my heart racing faster than ever. Tomorrow would change everything. The next morning unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, illuminating the remnants of the previous night's chaos. Crumpled napkins, half-empty glasses, and the faint scent of pine mingled with the bitterness of unspoken words. My heart felt heavy as I replayed the dinner's horror in my mind, my mother's hurtful words echoing like whispers in a darkened corridor. I moved about the kitchen, dismantling the remnants of our failed Christmas. Uncle Dave was lost in his phone. Aunt Marge sipped coffee like it was a lifeline, and laughter was replaced by muted conversations that barely grazed the surface. The joy of Christmas morning had evaporated like steam from a boiling kettle, leaving an uncomfortable tension hanging thick in the air. Just then, my mother stepped into the room. She looked fresh, almost serene, as if she hadn't just set the night ablaze with her cruel jabs. Her hair fell perfectly over her shoulders, the apron she wore clinging to her waist like nothing was wrong. But behind her sweet facade, I sensed a storm brewing, and I could either drown in it or fight back. "Morning, everyone," she chirped, pouring her coffee with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. It was a performance, and I was no longer willing to play along. "Mom," my voice cracked but remained firm. "Can we talk?" The words hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. Silence plunged back into the room, and all eyes turned to me. She raised an eyebrow, confusion flickering for just a moment before her mask regained its strength. Talk? About what? I need to understand why you said what you did last night, I pressed, heart pounding. How could you bring that up during dinner? You humiliated me in front of everyone. Her smile faltered just for a heartbeat. I was just being honest, she said, her voice slippery as an eel. You should be able to take a little criticism, especially from family. An icy knot twisted in my stomach. Criticism? This wasn't just family banter. It was a loaded gun aimed straight at my self-esteem. It felt like you were attacking me. I snapped, the fire boiling within. What's really going on with you? Is there something deeper behind your words? Her jaw tightened, the facade slipping closer to shattering. Don't make this about me, she spat, her voice suddenly low, laced with venom. The air thickened. I could feel the intense heat of the confrontation, pushing against the edges of my control. But it is about you, Mom. You're the one who keeps dragging up the past. What secret are you hiding? What are you afraid of? I pushed, each syllable retracting more of the protective barrier around my heart. A flicker of something dark passed over her face. Was it fear? Anger? For a moment I thought she might burst, but she turned away, her disguise slowly refitting itself. You could think about having more respect for our family, she retorted. Her voice now crisp and biting. I could feel the tension crackling like electricity, building to an unavoidable crescendo. The room held its breath, waiting. The clock ticked loudly in the background as each second stretched, and my question hung in the silence like a sword poised to fall. What awaited me in this new day? Could I muster the courage to keep peeling back the layers of her secret? Was I prepared for whatever truth might emerge? In that moment I knew one thing. I couldn't back down. But the path ahead was anything but clear, and the stakes were higher than I ever imagined. The seconds dragged on, each one thick with tension, until the doorbell rang, jarring the silence. It was as if the universe had heard my internal storm and decided to intervene. Everyone in the room turned their heads, a collective distraction from the emotional minefield we were navigating. Who could that be? Aunt Marge glanced at Uncle Dave, who finally put his phone down. My mother stiffened, her expression morphing into one of irritation. It's probably just the neighbor, she muttered, the edge in her tone unmistakable. But instead of heading toward the door, she stuffed her hands in her apron pockets, refusing to break her carefully curated calm. That I glanced out the window. A tall figure in a dark coat stood on the porch, backlit by the morning sun, blocking the light. I couldn't make out any features, but something about the silhouette sent a shiver down my spine. Mom, should I get it? I asked, eager to escape the confrontation brewing in the kitchen. No, she barked, suddenly alert. The sharpness of her tone rattled me, but I forced myself not to react. Silence fell again, thick and heavy, until the door creaked open. I stood frozen as the figure stepped inside, revealing a woman with striking features, vivid red hair cascading down her shoulders. Her eyes scanned the room, landing on my mother with a mixture of surprise and resentment. Rebecca, the woman said, her voice smooth yet loaded with an intensity that made the air tremble. We need to talk. My mother's expression morphed from irritation to something darker, deeper, a fear so palpable it almost enveloped her. Not now, Jenna. This is not the time. Jenna's lips curled into a wry smile, the kind that says 1,000 things without a word. But it is the time, dear sister. The past doesn't just disappear because you want it to. Uncle Dave and Aunt Marge exchanged bewildered glances, sensing the charged atmosphere shift beneath our feet. I felt my stomach drop as I realized this was more than an ordinary family visit. Jenna's presence felt like a pressure cooker, ready to explode. Jenna, please, my mother pleaded, the calm facade crumbling into something far more vulnerable. You need to leave. Leave? Not until we uncover the truth, Rebecca, Jenna pressed, taking slow steps toward my mother, her voice firm but measured. You've buried it long enough and it's time. I was transfixed, my heart hammering. The pieces started to come together, hidden pasts, buried secrets. This wasn't just a Christmas reunion. It was an unwelcome reckoning. What is happening? I finally whispered, unable to contain my curiosity any longer, my own voice trembling. The shadows of Aunt Marge and Uncle Dave, both still dumbfounded, hovered behind me like uncertain players in a twisted game. My mother shot me a look, a devastating mix of anger and desperation. This isn't for you to get involved in. Isn't it? Jenna challenged, her gaze unwavering. The room crackled with anticipation, every breath hanging in the balance. I could feel my own life imploding with each heartbeat. What was hidden? What raw truth would burst forth like a dam breaking? Tell me the truth, I demanded, stepping forward, the urge to know overmastering all fear in that charged moment, the air thick with uncertainty and hidden narratives. Jenna opened her mouth to speak, words poised to blur the lines of familial loyalty forever. But right then, the ground shifted beneath us, unleashing the tidal wave of family secrets long locked away. The truth was near. Was I truly ready for the devastation that could follow? As I braced myself for whatever revelation was about to tear through our fragile gathering, one thought echoed loud and clear. What had my mother been hiding all these years? Jenna inhaled sharply, her eyes narrowing as she surveyed the room, the tension almost crackling like static electricity. Let us not dance around it any longer. I know about Daniel, she said, her voice slicing through the thick air. Stop. My mother's face turned pale, beads of sweat forming on her brow. You promised. Promises are meant to be broken when the truth is at stake, Jenna countered, her words sharp enough to cut. You thought you could erase him from our lives, but here we are. Uncle Dave shifted uneasily, and Aunt Marge stepped back as if the confrontation were a living creature ready to lash out. I felt like I was watching a slow-motion train wreck. The name hung in the air like a dark cloud looming over us, and I could sense the unvoiced horrors lurking behind it. Who is Daniel? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, but the echo of my question thundered through the room. Daniel was someone I thought I could leave behind, my mother said, her voice far softer now, trembling. She looked cornered, like an animal ready to flee but with nowhere left to go. Jenna crossed her arms, her red hair framing a face that now wore the determination of someone who has waited far too long to expose the truth. He was the reason Mom fell apart. The reason we had to leave the city. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. So he's... What? A dark secret? I was desperate for clarity, but the dread threading through the air made it hard to breathe. Wasn't he just a secret? Aunt Marge interjected, her voice shaky. He was the scandal that tore our family apart. We moved to escape him. What did he do? I pressed, the urgency rising within me like a tide. Threading her fingers through her hair, my mother avoided my gaze. He hurt people. He got involved with the wrong crowd. I thought I could save him, but in the end he dragged me into his darkness. He locked you away from your own life, Rebecca, Jenna offered, her tone sharp, almost taunting. You wrapped yourself in shame, but it's suffocating you. The truth is your only release. A wave of confusion mixed with rebellion coursed through me. So why is he still a secret? Why not just tell me? Because it's not just about you. My mother snapped, finally finding her voice, the frustration teetering on the edge of despair. It's about keeping you safe from that chaos. Safe? I blinked hard, my heart pounding. Safe from what? The truth? Fleeing isn't living, Rebecca. Jenna exclaimed, her eyes fierce. You deserve to know who you really are. Not just this version you've been given. Soft murmurs filled the room as Uncle Dave finally spoke up, his voice shaking. The past has a way of coming back. Maybe it's too late to hide. Jenna's blazing eyes turned to my mother, the air thick with a raw desperation. You can't keep burying this. Daniel is out there again. He is back. A heavy silence followed, crashing into us like a winter storm. My mother's face twisted with horror, disbelief flooding her features. The revelation hung there, unyielding. What do you mean he is back? I whispered, fear spiraling in my chest. What does he want? Before she could answer, the door slammed open with a loud bang, sending us all jumping back. A chill snaked through the room, rattling even the bravest souls among us. The figure in the doorway loomed. It was a man, tall and familiar. I'm home, he said, the words dripping with audacity. The atmosphere shifted yet again. A new wave of dread replaced the old. Who was this person twisting the knife further into our family's broken past? I stared, my heart pounding furiously. Was I truly prepared for what was unfolding in front of me? As the man stepped inside, the room fell silent, every breath catching like a ball of ice. And there it was, a singular question echoing in my mind. What had my family done to keep this nightmare buried for so long? The man took a deliberate step forward, filling the doorway with a shadow that seemed to darken the very air around him. His presence clung to the room like a heavy mist, and I found myself unable to look away. The way everyone's eyes darted toward my mother, filled with a mix of horror and disbelief, cemented the unease coiling tightly in my gut. Daniel? The name left my lips in a strangled gasp, the vibrations of it hanging painfully in the charged silence. That he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Miss me? Get out, my mother commanded, her face paler than I'd ever seen. The tremor in her voice betrayed her, like a cracked dam ready to burst. You shouldn't have come back. Daniel shrugged, nonchalantly dismissing her words. It's a free country, Rebecca. He looked around the room, taking in each of us as if we were mere props in his twisted game. It's good to see family again. Even if they've forgotten the real stories. Aunt Marge stepped backward, her mouth slightly agape, while Uncle Dave's fists clenched at his sides. The atmosphere hung thick with tension, the kind that felt almost tangible, squeezing tight around our throats, preventing us from speaking. Don't you dare, my mother said, her voice rising with desperation. This is not your place anymore. You've tormented us long enough. Amidst the turmoil, a flicker of something familiar ignited within me. I had seen Daniel once long ago, in snapshots of family history locked away in a dusty box. In those faded images he smiled brighter than the rest of us. But now that memory felt like a tainted portrait overshadowed by menace. What do you want from us? I found my voice, that question breaking through the choking fear. His gaze locked onto mine, sharp and calculating. Isn't it obvious? He stepped further into the room, the door swinging shut behind him as if it sealed off any chance of escape. I've come to collect my due. It's time to pay the piper, Rebecca. My mother trembled and I moved instinctively closer to her, emboldened by a mix of fear and fury. You're just going to waltz back in like nothing happened? You hurt our family. The words rushed out, propelled by a wave of adrenaline. Daniel's grin widened, an unsettling transformation that almost made my skin crawl. But you still don't see the full picture. This family's dark past is more entangled with mine than you could ever imagine. And it's up to you to unwound those threads. He swept his gaze across the assembly, clearly relishing our discomfort. I'd tread lightly if I were you. The truth has a way of exposing hidden, even darker demons. Without waiting for a response, he produced something from his pocket, a small, worn notebook that appeared ancient. It landed on the table with a thud, looking innocuous yet menacing, as if it carried the weight of our family's secrets. What is that? I demanded, my heart racing. Daniel leaned forward, his voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial tone. A record of sins, written by the very hands that tried to bury them. And trust me, it has a page for each of you. A gust of cold understanding swept through me as Jenna's voice broke the tension. This isn't just a game for you, Daniel. You're threatening us. Think of it as an invitation to play, he replied, his smirk widening again. Either you keep hiding or confront what's been left in the shadow. Your choice. The air vibrated with uncertainty, and I faced a crossroads of fear and the unknown, my breathing quickening. Everything I had ever known felt shaky, while hope and dread entwined, growing fragile in equal measure. The question loomed in my mind like a dark cloud ready to burst. Could we face what lay ahead, or would we be consumed by the very secrets we sought to escape? As Daniel's smile deepened, the stakes became painfully clear, and one thought echoed loudly amid the chaos. What horrors awaited us as the truth unfurled? The silence cloaked the room, a heavy curtain that refused to lift. Daniel stood poised, the flicker of light casting shadows across his face, accentuating the sharp angles of his features. It was as if he thrived on our terror, feeding off the anxiety coiling around us like a serpent ready to strike. This? He gestured to the notebook, his voice smooth as silk. This is about family. Your family. Our family. Cut the crap, Daniel. Uncle Dave shouted, his voice breaking the eerie stillness. He stood up, fists balled tight, as if preparing to charge. You've got no right to waltz in here and dump your garbage on us. Daniel's laughter danced like daggers in the air, glinting with a cruel edge. But that's where you're wrong, Dave. I've got every right. After all, I am family, aren't I? Families share everything, Even secrets. He leaned back slightly, savoring the shock etched on our faces. Especially secrets. My mother's jaw clenched. The fight in her flickered like a firefly in the dark. Secrets? You think you can scare us into submission with those threats? Daniel's eyes narrowed slightly, his expression shifting to something darker, more sinister. Oh, I don't need to scare you. The truth does that all on its own. And I can see the guilt oozing off you like a wound that just one heel. My pulse quickened, racing in tandem with the rising tension. I turned to look at my mother, searching her features for clues, a glimmer of the familiarity I once knew. Mom, what is he talking about? My voice trembled, breaking through the buzz of tension swirling in the room. But she remained silent, lips pressed tight, swallowing whatever answer lay on the tip of her tongue. Ask her about the house, Daniel said coolly, spinning on his heel and pacing. The house with the hidden rooms. The one we all pretended didn't exist. There are things buried there that shouldn't see the light of day. Aunt Marge gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. No, you can't be serious. That place was dead for a reason. Exactly. Daniel turned to her, his eyes gleaming. But secrets have a habit of crawling back to the surface, don't they? I'll not listen to a word from you, Uncle Dave snapped, stepping forward again. But Daniel merely waved him off. What if I told you all that the answers are in this book? He tapped the notebook with a finger, each tap echoing like a heartbeat in my ears. What if it holds the key to why I'm back here with you? I won't let you destroy us, my mother finally hissed, eyes ablaze. You have no power here. Power? Daniel echoed, and there was a depth of anger in his laugh. I'm not the one who has to answer for the past. Trust me, you all do. Fear and confusion mingled inside me, a whirlpool threatening to drag me under. The air thickened, the unspoken words tasting bitter on my tongue. I felt as if we were standing on a cliff's edge, the path before us crumbling and unstable. What's in that notebook? I found myself whispering, my body frozen in place. Was it worth the risk? Was world-altering knowledge too heavy for us to bear? Daniel turned to me, a wicked smile twitching at the corners of his lips. Do you really want to know the truth? The knowledge could break you, or set you free. As he spoke, shadows danced behind him, twisting and churning, threatening to envelop us all. The heat of revelation drew closer, a pulse that quickened with every breath I took. Or maybe you'd prefer to stay here, trapped in ignorance while the past keeps resurfacing. It's your choice. What was hidden in that book? The weight of uncertainty hung heavily, pressing down on my shoulders. And then the walls seemed to close in, leaving the question lingering in the air. Were we ready to unearth our family's buried secrets? Or would Daniel's return bury us all under the weight of our history? The air shifted, thick with implications, as Daniel stretched out his hand, that accursed notebook cradled in his palm like a trove of dark treasures. Everyone held a breath, as if the atmosphere was electrified, charged with anticipation and dread. I could see Uncle Dave's shoulders tighten, rage simmering beneath a surface that threatened to boil over. You all want answers, Daniel taunted, his voice dripping with malice. Let us dig deeper. He flipped the notebook open, the pages crinkling like whispering ghosts in the silence. Each turn felt like a countdown. What's in there? Aunt Marge asked, her eyes wide, fear painted across her features. Her voice trembled, barely loud enough to break through the tension, but it hung there like a lifeline flung into turbulent waters. Clues, Daniel replied, his gaze flickering from one family member to another, absorbing our reactions like a sponge. Pieces of a puzzle you're all too terrified to complete. My thoughts raced. Was there something far worse buried in our past? Hidden secrets that could tear at the very fabric of our family? I clutched the edge of the table, feeling its cool would provide the only stability in this chaos. We need to leave, my mother finally broke her silence, a desperate tremor threading through her voice. Her eyes darted around, searching for an exit. This is madness. But Daniel only chuckled, a sound that rattled in echoes against the cold walls. And what if you can't run away from your own past? It's tethered to you, far more inescapable than you think. Suddenly the room felt smaller, the shadows growing. My heart pounded. Every beat felt like a countdown of its own. I turned to Daniel. If you have something to say, just say it. Stop dancing around it. Daniel leaned forward, placing his forearms on the table, that derisive smile still etched on his face. Fine. Let us talk about the night of the storm, the night everything changed. I didn't want to hear it. I felt my breath quicken. And I caught a flicker of something in my mother's eyes. Was it fear? Guilt? What are you talking about? Uncle Dave advanced, but his bravado felt more like a mask than conviction. Don't you remember? Daniel raised his voice, and it reverberated through the room like thunder. The whispers, the screams, the blame? Those words ignited a fire inside me, but I couldn't move. The very memory of that night, the rain lashing against the windows, the arguments, the darkness that seeped through every crack was stitched with an agony I had tried to forget. I was there, Daniel continued, his voice low and menacing. I saw it all unfold. And I can prove it if you're willing to look. Prove what? My mother's voice was a strangled whisper, a plea veiled in anger. The flicker of a candle illuminated her face, reflecting the horror in her eyes, that tempest of tempestuous emotions swirling behind them. Proof that your beloved family isn't as innocent as you think, Daniel said, a gleam in his eye as he pointed toward the notebook. You're all hiding behind your walls of denial. It's time to tear them down. Enough, Uncle Dave shouted, his rage boiling over. Stop with the threats and games. What do you want? Daniel straightened, and suddenly his tone shifted, carrying a chilling finality. I want the truth. And you, Dave, you need to decide whether you're ready to confront it or continue to let it eat away at you from the inside. Because I promise you, the moment I open this book, there's no going back. The intensity in the room escalated, electricity crackling around us. I felt the weight of every secret, every unopened wound gathering around Daniel like a predator, its fangs bared and ready to strike. Then, in an unexpected pivot, Daniel smiled. Well, it's decision time. He paused, allowing dread to hang like a guillotine above us. Do you want to know what's in the notebook? Or will you let the past keep suffocating you? I glanced at my family, their faces twisted in a blend of fear and anger. The night felt perilous, suspended on the hinge of revelation. What should we do? I whispered, my voice cracking. I could see the doubt creeping into their eyes, and just as that question echoed, I heard the unmistakable sound of a creaking floorboard behind me. The house exhaled a breath of secrets long confined, as if it too were a spectator ready to divulge our hidden history. Get ready, Daniel said, his grin widening. The truth is about to come out whether you want it to or not. The room fell silent, a suffocating stillness enveloping us, as our breath caught in our throats. My heart was a war drum, pounding wildly against my ribs as I tried to process what lay ahead. That floorboard creak hadn't come from my imagination. It had sounded like the warning of an approaching storm. Who's there? Aunt Marge whispered, her voice quivering like fragile glass ready to shatter. She whipped her head toward the dark hallway leading to the back of the house, her eyes wide and frightened. Daniel's grin morphed into a look of pure glee, like a predator relishing its prey's fear. See? The past is always present. He taunted again, and the corners of his mouth curled upward in delight. Enough games, Uncle Dave roared, stepping closer to Daniel, muscles tense and wild fury etched on his face. The palpable rage only exacerbated the tension swirling in the room. I could see my mother's hands clenched tightly in her lap, knuckles white as she fought to regain control of the spiraling night. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible loomed. We need to leave. Now, I blurted, urgency spilling from my lips as I cast desperate glances toward the door. Daniel chuckled. You think escape is possible? You've had years to run from this. Now it's time to face it. Just then the creaking footfall returned, slow and deliberate, and my heart dove into my stomach. I turned sharply, searching the shadowy entrance of the hallway. The darkness felt alive, pulsating with secrets, and that familiar dread wrapped around me like a vice. A figure lurked just at the edge of the hallway, emerging slowly from the gloom, and I froze. It was an old family member, one I wasn't sure I was prepared to see again. Lily, came the trembling voice, a soft whisper that sent chills up my spine. My pulse quickened, the familiar scent of sandalwood and cinnamon somehow twisted, evoking memories I had tried to bury. Mom, I gasped, my mind reeling. The flicker of hope and dread was a sickening mix as I struggled to comprehend why she was here. Now of all moments. Daniel, she spoke slowly, her voice a soft plea. You shouldn't have brought this out. Her eyes darted nervously around the room, landing on each of us, her own fear apparent, mirroring what we felt. It's too late for gentle touches and sweet words. Isn't it? Daniel fired back, his voice a dagger slicing through the tension. The truth is like a boiling pot, it bubbles over when pushed to the brink. Doesn't it? Daniel, she shook her head, her gaze pleading. Leave it be, please. I can't do that, can I? They deserve to know the truth, he responded, his laughter echoing like a sinister melody. Everyone blames everyone else. Because you're all running from the same monster. What do you mean? Uncle Dave stepped forward, his voice hardening. What monster? The one that lurked in the dark that night, the one you've never confronted. Daniel's grin twisted. The monster inside each of you lurking, waiting. Panic rose in my throat as the implications of his words took hold. I swallowed hard, fear mixing with curiosity. Could it really be as twisted and terrible as he suggested? Just then the candle flickered, throwing shadows against the walls, each flicker almost pleading for us to listen. I looked at my mother, her face paling as she silently weighed our uncertain fates. Mom, what did you do? The question slipped out before I could stop myself. Her gaze pierced through me, both apologetic and terrified. What is he talking about? As Uncle Dave clenched his fists, Daniel leaned back, evidently relishing the unfolding chaos. Come on, let them discover for themselves. The truth awaits. My thoughts spiraled as dread settled in my stomach like a stone. If this lashed old scars open, there'd be no victory in that truth. But lacked any option, our past surfacing like a ghost demanding to haunt us anew. With nothing left to act but face the truth, I glanced at my family, searching for some flicker of resolve amidst the chaos. But could we survive whatever darkness Daniel planned to expose? And just as his fingers began to flick through the notebook again, a piece of our family's hidden horror ready to be unleashed, a loud crash echoed from the hallway. What more would we unearth? The crash reverberated through the walls, shaking the very core of our being. I recoiled, instinctively drawing closer to my mother, who had suddenly become a frail shield amidst the growing turmoil. The candlelight flickered menacingly, casting wild shadows that danced across the room, creating specters of our worst fears. Mom! I shouted, my voice barely above a whisper now, eyes darting toward the darkened hallway. What was that? Silence hung like a noose as we waited, breathless. No one dared move. Every second felt like an eternity, a tightrope walk on the edge of something horrific. Daniel broke the quiet, his mirth echoing in stark contrast to the tension coiling around us. Just a little reminder, he said, fingers drumming impatiently on the table. The past waits for no one. Aunt Marge suddenly gasped, crumbling into the embrace of the armchair. You don't have to do this, Danny. We've already suffered enough. Her plea was raw, cutting through the air like a knife, but it only seemed to spur Daniel on. Enough? He chuckled, wicked delight sparkling in his eyes. You've barely scratched the surface. The skeletons in your closets are just dying to step into the light, aren't they? Mom's expression tightened, her brow furrowing with both fear and resentment. You think this is a game? This isn't who you used to be. She advanced a step, eyes locked onto Daniel's. You know nothing of our pain. Oh, but I do, Lily, he spat, venom in his tone. I've watched you all pretend like everything is fine. Let us add a little spice to the holiday cheer. He spun toward me, the gleeful malice etched on his face. What as a family reunion without a little bloodshed? The tension ramped up as a low rumble echoed from the hallway, confusing me. Was it footsteps or something more sinister? Time hung heavy as I watched my mother tremble, her composure fraying. I could see her wrestling with some untold confession, a truth that had been buried beneath years of deception. Tell us the truth about that night, Mom. I surged ahead, anger mixing with desperation. You can't let him twist it into some kind of horror story. Just tell us. My pulse hammered in my ears, adrenaline coursing through me. Daniel, stop. My uncle's voice exploded, but Daniel just shrugged him off, his excitement palpable. My mother's lips quivered as she shook her head. No, we can't do this here, not now. Why not? Daniel leaned in, his excitement like a child's at Christmas. You've run away from it long enough. Let us see who you really are. That was when the sounds intensified. A shuffle, then a shriek pierced through the hallway, and all our heads snapped toward the source of the noise. Strangely familiar yet haunting, It sent a fresh chill coursing through my veins. What was that? I managed. My mother's face drained of color, and I caught her breath hitching in her throat. It's him, she stammered, tears pooling in her eyes. I thought we were safe. What does that mean? Who's coming? Uncle Dave gritted his teeth, stepping back defensively. Daniel's laughter rang out above our bewilderment. The past is a relentless pursuer, my dears. And tonight it has come home. At that moment, a figure stepped into the threshold of the light, half hidden in the shadows. And everything we thought we knew hung suspended in that single heartbeat of uncertainty. Would this apparition reveal the truth we dreaded, or plunge us into further darkness? The air thickened, each second stretching out as the face emerged, alive but like a haunting echo from a time we could never forget. As the figure stepped closer, the shadows peeled away, revealing a face that twisted my heart. Familiar yet foreign, a haunting echo of the past reconstituting before our very eyes. Daniel, the name slipped through my lips like a delicate whisper, a fragile thread tethering me to the reality I thought I knew. The energy in the room electrified, a storm brewing within the confines of our cozy kitchen. The sight of him sent shivers down my spine. A ghost reappeared to claim its throne of anguish after years of silence. I know you all thought the chapters were closed, he said, a sly grin twisting his lips. But family, as you have so gracefully ignored, is bound by blood even when that blood is tainted. Color seemed to drain from my mother's face, her eyes wide with fear and an unyielding shame that I hadn't seen before. You shouldn't have come back, she said, her voice trembling, barely above a whisper but heavy with a weight I could feel deep in my bones. Ah, but you were the one who left the door open, Daniel quipped, his amusement dancing menacingly in the air. He turned to me, dark amusement gleaming in his gaze. You're the one wanting to know the truth. Do you really think you're ready? A lump formed in my throat, wide-eyed and lost as panic swelled. My heart raced faster, echoing against the walls of tension pressing in close. Mom, what is happening? I stammered, looking from her to Daniel. What does he mean? For the first time my mother seemed to unravel. Tears shimmered in her eyes, shimmering as she struggled with the weight of her silence. I tried to shield you from it, she finally confessed, her voice breaking like fragile glass. I thought you thought the past would stay buried, Daniel countered, voice low yet thundering through the silence that hung thickly between us. But secrets refused to bow to silence. Uncle Dave fisted his hands, fury battling the helplessness that was settling in. Enough of your games, he spat, his anger flaring. What do you want? The truth may not always be the cozy fairy tale you imagine, Daniel replied, casting a glance at me, his eyes narrowing. Rebecca, your mother is tangled in a web that connects all of us, her darkness, our darkness. What do you mean? I demanded again, pushing the uncertainty away. What did you do? A tense pulse filled the air. A looming dread clung to every breath. My mother wavered on the brink, her facade crumbling under the pressure of impending revelations. It goes back years, she whispered, voice strained with the burden of a truth unwilling to remain hidden. A decision made in a moment of desperation. The door burst open, and we all jumped in unison. The atmosphere spiraled into chaos. A gust of wind swept through, swirling the stale air before crashing down into painful silence. A stranger stepped in, eyes burning with fury, matching the tempest brewing in the room. Daniel, the voice called, and the very fabric of our reality rippled at the sound of this new arrival. And in that moment time hung suspended. The revelation I sensed coming, so tangible yet so terrifying, hung like a storm cloud above us. I took a step back, heart hammering loudly, resonating around the sweet light of the holiday decorations, turning grotesque. Who is this? I asked, the sharpness of my voice cutting through the feeble threads of connection holding us together. Daniel, ever smug, leered. Someone who has been waiting to confront the truth even longer than I. In that moment realization surged. My breath caught in my throat, and I sought my mother's eyes, hoping for some semblance of explanations. The shadows of anger, betrayal, and fear tangled into a horrific tapestry woven from our family's darkest secrets. I wanted to recoil, to bury my head under the bed covers. Instead, I clenched my fists, preparing to face what lay ahead. Tonight is the night, Daniel said, piercing his gaze toward me and then shifting quickly to my mother. Secrets must be unearthed, or no more family will ever emerge from this place. The winds of fate howled around us, swirling deeper into chaos. Each family member stood paralyzed, forced to confront the ghost of our shared history that loomed like a vengeful spirit intent on stripping away any remaining pretense. "Confront it, Rebecca. Confront it, all of you," Daniel urged, his voice leaping in intensity. "Truth is the only way forward if you wish to survive this storm." As the room echoed the culmination of our entangled lives, everything I thought I knew about our family slipped through my fingers like sand. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of connection and loss press down. "Please," my mother suddenly implored, her voice raw with desperation. "Help us find a way out of this nightmare. We've been lost in it for too long." The air grew thick with the joint hope for resilience, yet still echoed the truth lurking just behind the corner of ignorance. "We need to face it, Mom." Together, I declared, standing tall against the wall of despair. And as I stepped forward, prepared to unearth the secrets that threatened to consume us, I felt the sparks of hope reignite within me. Tonight we would either break the chains binding us to the past or succumb to its grasp forever. The ground beneath felt alive as the truth surged to the surface, weaving us together in the face of the monster we couldn't outrun any longer. And with a collective breath we began the arduous journey into the haze of history, the unfolding of our family's greatest legacy of light and darkness. The truth awaited. Now before you go, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and ensure we keep bringing the heat. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support, and trust me, every action counts. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how crucial this is for our community.